Resident Evil 3 was released in 2020 and is a remake of the classic 1999 Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. The game puts you in the shoes of Jill Valentine and Carlos Oliveira, following the Spencer Mansion outbreak in Resident Evil 1. The setting is Raccoon City, in the first few hours of a major zombie outbreak. While avoiding and being pursued by infected creatures throughout the game, you are also pursued by the main antagonist Nemesis, a smart and hulking tyrant variant programmed to hunt and kill the STARS police team before they can expose Umbrella's activities in the Arklay Mountains. You follow a concise and simple story that brings you quickly through Raccoon City to a hospital and finally to an underground Umbrella facility where you finally defeat Nemesis. As Nemesis crosses your path and confronts Jill multiple times throughout the game, you switch between playing as Jill and Carlos at key points through the game. The result is fun and tense gameplay experience with an interesting story. The review. Rolling on from the fantastic Resident Evil 2 remake and Resident Evil 3 remake comes across as a lackluster and hollow experience compared to the former. This short game is fantastic, but it disappointed me in a couple of ways I will point out. Scripted scenes. Mostly all of your interactions with the antagonist Nemesis are scripted and a little dull. The tyrant is introduced fantastically in his opening sequence as he blasts through a wall and proceeds to chase Jill out of her burning apartment building in an action-packed thrill ride, which is better than most action movies I've seen to date. Don't get me wrong with Nemesis. He is incredible looking and steals all the scenes involving him and makes him very tense and entertaining. But the original fear and constant threat of Mr. X in Resident Evil 2 remake is far better. The lack of unscripted interactions with Nemesis is such a shame. While I was running for my life in the incredible opening scene, I was hoping once the game started I would have to learn how to best avoid and outsmart him in ways of my own through and around the vast Raccoon City streets. But instead it was just limited to the short first chapter, which is the equivalent of about 10% of the game. Every other interaction with Nemesis following this were all scripted and a little boring. With this in mind, it did add a little more fear to any sighting of Nemesis, but I found myself wanting to play every time a cutscene started, as opposed to watching it. Environment. The Raccoon City environment is really great. I was impressed by how colourful and interesting it was, when the status quo of most cities during a zombie outbreak usually just follow the norm of streets being irrationally on fire. Since playing Resident Evil 2, and having to do a short run through the tiny sections of Raccoon City before and after the police station chapter, I had the rational anticipation for wanting to see more of the city in the sequel. The sections you do see of A Nightmare Raccoon City was limited, but highly intricate. I know this game is not designed to be an open world, but making such an intriguing world make people want to explore every nook and cranny of it. I wish the city was the entire game, and you unlocked and locked down sections as you tried to salvage a dying city, which would eventually implode on itself. Instead, this great possibility was rushed into a small quarter of the game. The small part of the city I did get to experience was incredible. As I said, full of shops and bars, colourful buildings, all under the setting of a zombie infestation. Perspective. It would have been great to be able to complete the entire game from both Jill and Carlos's perspective. I did enjoy the combo of back and forth from player perspective throughout the game. The player switch perspective change was really well made. I suppose I just wanted the game to last a little longer. I realised less is more. The story is tight and concise and very straightforward with interesting plot twists. Overall, entertaining and very fun to play. I think I would have enjoyed it more, and this review would have been a little bit more positive if I never played Resident Evil 2 Remake. In conclusion, the game was fantastic and entertaining. I just wish it was a little longer and they had used similar enemy AI that they had used with Mr. X on Nemesis. Similar to Alien Isolation, I'm of the opinion that an individual's player's experience and improvisation made during initial gameplay always trump scripted scenes or cutscenes. Cutscenes happen for all players, but the individual experience add to replayability as well as overall enjoyment, like hiding from Jack Baker behind a box or running to a nearby safe room to get away from the pursuing Mr. X. Random fear-inducing moments make for a more unique and exciting gameplay experience. I hope maybe an add-on or update may be added to this game in the future. I'd recommend this game. It is a beautiful and action-packed game. I would say that for the few faults I found with this title, it is a great addition to the Resident Evil Remake series. I would be very interested to see the next remake in the series,
It's finally over.
or when they would finally release Resident Evil 8. Hope you enjoyed this review. Thanks for watching.
So long, RC.